Doctor.
Been waiting a while to get into this one.
Yeah, you've been excited about
Been
this one.
chomping at the fucking bit. So we're going to talk about Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
The Steven Spielberg Conspiracy.
Yeah.
That's a good title.
Yeah.
Slow drip.
Slow drip disclosure.
Oh, I thought it was because he had to clap.
Well, could be just because he's old.
Could be.
Could be both. Compounding.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
At least he gets to know the truth about aliens.
Yeah.
So,
what's the theory?
So the theory is that Steven Spielberg has been enlisted by the government, or the black government, to slow drip disclosure facts to the public through his movies and various things that he's produced and written.
Mm-hmm.
So he was hired by the government and given information to specifically inject into his media.
Yeah.
Now, did you believe that before we did the research?
So I'd never really even thought about it until you had said that maybe like a year ago. You said that, and then I was like, wait, what? And then really started, like, you kind of described what you were talking about, the theory. And so, like, looking into it over the past however long it's been, maybe a year since the first time I heard about it, it really makes a lot of sense. Like, it seems like if you look at his film trajectory, it kind of covers all of his films that have to deal with, like, aliens, covers the whole gamut of scenarios.
I think it actually cuts a little bit deeper than just UAPs.
Yeah.
I should have wrote down his filmography, but there are other examples of other movies he's been involved in, whether he was the writer, director, or producer. There's a lot of different stuff that he's into that kind of leads me to believe he knows more than pretty much anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but it touches on this concept of consciousness overall being a big factor in all of these things.
It does. And so when this theory kind of came up, I kind of, like, in a way came up with it on my own, because I was watching this video about these different great directors. I had stumbled across this YouTube series where, like, this guy would break down filmographies of these, top tier world class directors like Spielberg and Christopher Nolan and Ridley Scott or Michael Mann and whomever. Because I'm really interested in film. I always have been. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's like one of my great regrets that I didn't go to film school.
Yeah.
But Steven Spielberg's came on. And keep in mind, we're, like, deep in the throes of the consciousness, astral projection, remote viewing kind of part of the podcast where, like, the third eye is starting to open up. And so I'm, like, looking at everything that he was involved in from all his different roles. And I go, fuck. 90% of his films are in line with things that we talk about. Mm-hmm. And so I thought either this guy would do an amazing podcast or he knows more than he's letting on. And so I had kind of did a little bit of digging, come to find out this theory already existed, which kind of sucked because I thought I had an original thing there. But no, this has been a thought for a long time. And I think recently it's just been absolutely cemented with Disclosure Day, his most recent movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie?
I really liked it. I did think that it was a little long. It could have been a little bit shorter and more compact. But it was entertaining enough that I watched it twice. So you had watched it and you told me it wasn't a great movie. So I already had really super low expectations for it. And so maybe that's why I thought it was okay, because I thought it was going to be really boring. And so I watched it. So before watching it, I had watched the American Alchemist podcast with those two producers. Bryce and Brent, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the guy's name is Brent, but I know one of them is Bryce.
Yeah, and then there was a follow-up episode of him talking about Spielberg and his theories of how he could be interpreted as a government plant and being fed information to slow drip.
That episode, side note, is fucking top tier.
Yeah. And I think I sent it to you because I was just like listening to it on the way to work, and I got there and I sent it to you and I was like, dude, check this out. But so I watched both of those and listened to them before I even watched the movie. And so I was a little bit front-loaded with information, and so I was picking up, maybe that's why it was more entertaining for me, because I was like looking for these things that he was talking about in these episodes. And so I was like, I watched the movie, and then rewatched that episode again of the podcast, and then rewatched the movie again, just to really try to connect all these little dots. So I really liked the movie. I thought it was trying to be, I can see where people didn't like it, being like, it was trying to be reminiscent of Steven Spielberg movies.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the middle section of the movie was super reminiscent of E.T. in the parts where they're trying to escape the government men.
Yeah.
Only with adults, which made it way less entertaining.
Right.
But that's exactly what it felt like, even down to his directing style and the way the actors kind of portray it with a sense of fear and I have no idea what I'm doing, fumbling their way through it. So it was really on par, but I think that's what I didn't like about it, was because it's like I've seen this.
Yeah.
And so the reason I say it's not a great movie is because it's not a great movie as far as movies go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not bad by any means. It's just not amazing.
Yeah.
But really it's too reminiscent of things that I've already seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of scenes in there that are just like super unbelievable, that work. They kind of work on film, but like in real life, it's like the scene where he's hiding from the feds when he goes to the farmhouse and he's hiding, like running behind that little fence. And it's like, dude, there's 50 fucking agents out there, and none of them just looks to the side and sees him running half a mile along this fence up to steal one of their cars. And spoiler alert, we're going to drop a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler-free episode. We're going to go into the weeds. But you would think it would even be standard protocol to have at least like some agents watching full 360, just standing there fucking at the ready, you know.
Or when they're in the car chase and then they stop at the cliff and then they throw the car off the cliff and then they hide behind the rocks right
like 15 feet away and they're still talking.
I mean, visually it looks like, okay, they're hiding behind the rocks, but if you're thinking about it in 3D, like all the cops just get out and walk straight to the cliff and like look over the cliff and they're standing right behind them, behind a rock that's like this big.
Yeah. And
so, I mean, there was a lot of scenes that kind of was just like, that's so stupid. But it's along the lines of like E.T. and stuff like this, where it's more of a visual effect to say, okay, they didn't see him because they got out of the car and they're hiding. And it's just like almost lazy, like creating. They do it a lot in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Also, the score was reminiscent of like those older 80s and 90s movies where it's like
yeah.
You know, everything's magical or something like that. Just like Indiana Jones, like he'll walk through the curtains and say ring.
Yeah.
You know, the score is just, it kind of takes it out for me, like takes you out of the especially nowadays with big budget movies where they don't really have a score like that, where it's just like more of a real movie or a real experience or something like that. So there's not like a big musical score going behind the entire movie.
Yeah, there were other aspects of it from a movie-going standpoint that I didn't like. Like, there was like no predilection to this on the precipice of World War III aspect, except for one scene where they pulled up to the gas station and everybody's just like taking everything they can from this convenience store, and they don't even tell you why.
Yeah.
And then
Side note: the world's ending.
Yeah. Side note: we're on the brink of nuclear war, but they have that one scene with no context, and then it comes up again at the end of the movie, where it's like the whole world is on the precipice of nuclear war.
The world's ending. I forgot what's happening in this movie.
Like, I would have leaned into that much heavier.
Yeah.
Especially within the realm of the topic of, if disclosure can unite us, like, we really need to have that thing to unite against. Like, well, hold on. You're telling us aliens are real. Fuck that World War III shit. This is important.
Yeah.
You need to have that juxtaposition, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah. It seemed like there was a lot of... So there was conversations in the movie that had to take place to drive the narrative of what's being said in the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, there's conversations between the guy and Jane, and then Jane and the nun, and then, like, all these different... There's, like, 5 or 6 different conversations to explain the different points of view of, like, releasing like, just full disclosure would, like, upset the whole world balance because of religious things or political things or political views or religious views that people have that would break that paradigm of, like, nothing is real anymore, and so everybody just goes crazy. And it's like 5 or 6 different conversations that are had throughout the movie, or like between Hugo and the guy of Wardex, where they're having a conversation psychically, I guess.
Yeah.
That really explain the different angles or the different points of view that are hot topics in disclosure in general. So it seems like it's just like everything else that's going on in the movie is just like trying to figure out a way to get to the next point to have this next conversation and so I can see where if you're just looking for the information on the movie, that stuff in the middle can be boring and it's just like dragged out until you get to the next conversation that needs to be had.
You know, the conversations about paradigm and dogma and everything else that come with disclosure was my favorite part of the movie, because you had these different characters. The main character, I can't think of his name, but he's like an Edward Snowden.
Yeah, it was the guy from Ratatouille.
Yes. But he's got this idea of, like, I'm just going to dump it all on the net right now. Everybody deserves to know. This is a human right. And then the nun, his girlfriend, she has a crisis of no longer believing in people. She still has her faith, but doesn't believe in people. And so she doesn't want that to get out because it would break religious dogma. But she talks to her nun superior lady who's like, no, it wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
People are still going to have their faith. So and then the Wardex guy, Colin Firth's character, of people can't handle the truth, versus him talking to Hugo, and Hugo calls him out like, no, you're not protecting people or the system, you're protecting your bottom line.
You're protecting your own wealth.
Your own wealth. And so all these different conversations from different perspectives are the meat and potatoes of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's what gets missed or lost in the sauce, because people want, like, this big alien movie, but Steven Spielberg's not making that movie. He's made big alien movies before. This is a movie about people.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's missing, that I think people look at that and go, this is not a good movie. because there's all this conversation about it. Like, that's
what disclosure is.
That's what we need to talk about. Yeah. It's like I was saying to somebody, disclosure day is important. You know what's more important? The day after disclosure day.
Yeah.
How do we behave going forward, knowing what we know now?
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the more interesting part, and that's where I kind of wish they would have framed the movie a little bit different. Like, have disclosure day be the end of Act 2, and then the entirety of Act 3 is the day after.
Yeah.
Like, what happens after? That's what I'm more curious about. Because I get looking at different perspectives, and I understand why people want it to stay a secret and people would want it to come out. But I want to see, like, what Steven Spielberg would have, what his perspective would have been after.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a choice that he was making to create another conversation of, like, so the climax of the movie is at the end of the movie. Like, the climax is like all of the information starts getting leaked on the news, and they start putting out all these rapid fire, just like all the evidence that's been collected by this Wardex black government agency. And at the very end, so everybody's like, it's doing a montage of like showing these different clips, and it's going around the world showing people glued to their phones getting the disclosure that, like, we're not alone in the universe, all at the same time. And so everybody's watching everything unfold and is awakening to this reality at the same time. And then the very last thing that she says is, listen. And it's supposed to be saying, to me, it was like all of the stuff, the World War that's pending, that's going to happen, is like our own ego of humanity, and if we would just stop and listen to each other, it could all be avoided. And so I thought that the ending was good. Like, I thought it was like it opened up a different conversation of the next conversation that has to happen.
I do enjoy the ending because it ends the conversation that Spielberg's trying to have with you, because he's presented all these different points of view and these different facts and things like that, and he ends the movie with listen. And going back to when Emily Blunt's character has her first, like, the moment where she starts speaking the alien language, mm-hmm. Don't be afraid of what you don't know. Those are two very individual points that need to be said. For one, don't be afraid of what you don't know. Now listen. It's almost like saying, keep an open mind. I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
But putting it into the audience's hands of, like, take what you know, what I've just shown you, and decide for yourself.
So you went and saw it at the theaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that when she was speaking in that language?
I heard the guttural clicking and things like that. I did not hear it in English. Did you?
No.
Okay. We're not aliens.
No. But how did you know that's what she said? Oh, he says it, right?
Yeah. Because Hugo sends the video to the main character.
That's right.
And he's like, yeah, don't be afraid of what you don't know. I don't understand. And he's like, wait, you understood that? Yeah, she's speaking English, motherfucker. So I watched the movie. Like I said, I watched the movie, and then I was watching some videos about it, and then somebody said that that's what she said during that thing, and I was like, wait, what? I went back and listened to it, and I was like, where are they getting this from? I totally forgot that he was listening to it and repeated what she said. So I was thinking it was because the movie was released in IMAX specifically, like that was his target theater that he wanted it to be released in. I was kind of thinking if you went to an IMAX theater, you could hear that being said underneath the, like, almost like within the clicking and stuff, you could hear it being said. So I have two alternate theories. Well, I shouldn't say alternate theories. I have two theories to go along with that. One, and I'm sure you came across this idea of, in the early trailer, it says 7 billion people deserve to know the truth. I don't think that was a fluke. I don't think they were just like mistabulating how many people are actually on the planet, right? I do think that was an intentional thing that was put out. And believe it or not, it's hard to find that trailer now. It's largely been scrubbed. And I couldn't tell you why. But here's my two theories. One is the really conspiracy theorist person, I may be, doctor, if you will, is that maybe that is part of this soft disclosure of like throwing that little tidbit out there and then walking it back.
7 billion people need to know, referring to 1 billion people already know, or
1 billion people are
aliens,
hybrids of some kind, or actual aliens. Like that's the one that I want to believe, because it shows me that like we're not as dissimilar as we want to think from another species, or the time traveler, alien, whatever theory you want to put into it. I like the idea that 1/8 of the population on this planet is actually not fully human. That's such a mind-bending concept. So part of that is the movie is an activation, and that I think there are people who went to see the movie, because I looked at some different testimonials and different comments of it's subreddits and shit where people say, I heard her say, don't be afraid of what you don't know. I didn't hear the alien clicking. And then a lot of people are saying, no, I heard the alien clicking. So is it an activation for some of those people that are in fact not fully human? Potentially.
Let us know in the comments what you heard. If you've seen go see the movie if you haven't seen it, and tell us what you heard.
I want to know.
We can report you right now to Wardex that you are.
My other theory is that it's just a social experiment. That certain theaters played the movie, and instead of the guttural clicking noise, she actually says it in English.
Well, yeah, that's why I was kind of wondering if when it's played in an IMAX theater with the IMAX sound, you can hear it like underneath the clicking and stuff like that. You can hear or it's like a subconscious thing that you hear it subconsciously, I don't know. Or
they play it subconsciously. So you have two realities. One is that there are potentially alien human hybrids who actually understood the language, and the other part is they created this amazing social experiment, which is going to have this movie be talked about for the next 30 years because people don't know the truth. And it's like that'd be the greatest con you could play on moviegoers.
Yeah.
Like, you might be an alien human hybrid if you heard "Don't be afraid of what you don't know," but you're definitely a human if you heard. So it's mind-boggling either way.
Yeah.
Because
if they didn't think of that, they fucking should have, dude.
I'm
opportunity missed. So yeah, another thing that I thought of, like, after I watched the ending. So I watched the ending, and then it cut to credits, cut to black, and then credits, and I was like, what the fuck? And I went back and watched the ending again. And just because it just ended so abruptly, of you're on this cliffhanger, and then just leaves you there oh fuck, what? Mm-hmm. So I went back and watched it again, and I was like, listen, and I was like, maybe I have to go back and watch the movie again and listen to what's being said. And there are a few things, a lot of the times when there's a few points in the movie where they say something and then repeat it again. Mm-hmm. And then one of them is the radio station, or the news station that she works at, KCXE.
Yeah.
So I was like, what does that mean? So I looked it up. And, but it's KCXC is what... So the guy that wrote the score for the movie titled the score KCXE, so you can look it up on Spotify as KCXE and listen to it as a score, as like an album. So I thought that was weird.
Interesting.
I haven't listened to the whole thing. I just was clicking on some of the tracks just to listen to what it is. And it's just like the score from the movie, but I haven't listened to the whole thing to say if there's anything else in there. But there's a point in the movie, they're like, what's the radio say? KCXE. What? KCXE. Listen to it, or whatever. And so it's like, shit, that's got to be something. There's another point where they're at the gas station, and he's talking to the doctor, trying to get the girlfriend readmitted to the hospital or whatever.
I fucking hated his character, by the way. He was, and he's such a good actor.
Yeah, I fucking hated that guy. I was like, here's an idea, fucking leave him. Okay, cool. But he asks what the address is of the convenience store, so he can bring the people there to get her. I think he repeats it twice what the address is, and it's 37 Pearl Street, Decatur, or something like that. I think that's what it is. And so I looked that up, and it refers to a mall in Boulder, Colorado, that supposedly has an underground facility underneath it.
What?
Yeah. But also, it's like the 37th parallel longitude or latitude is like the parallel that the Four Corners sits on. Yeah, 37-degree parallel and it's actually called the Paranormal Highway. That parallel.
Oh, are you talking about the plateau, the Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico?
So it's like New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, and then Arizona, all these states underneath. Oklahoma, it's like the parallel line that they all run on is the 37th degree.
Dude, you're fucking blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, man. So almost all the numbers that they refer to in the movie are something, it's something that...
I have to watch this again.
Yeah.
Fuck. I gotta go on
So that's why I watched it, listened to those things, and I was like, he said listen. So I went back and listened to it, and it was like, there's key moments where they repeat shit. And so it's like, that's got to be something. Look it up. Sure enough, it's a little Easter egg of
See, that phrase you just said, that's got to mean something. It goes back to another Spielberg movie.
Easter egg?
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, yeah.
Because multiple characters say, this means something. This is important. Just tied those two right together.
Yeah. It's... When you start looking at it as a whole of all these things, I went back, and so after that, I rented Close Encounters and watched that again. And then I realized that I fucking hate Richard Dreyfuss. Dude, you just fucked off to space and just fuck them kids, dude.
Dude, that was the hardest part about that movie, is Richard Dreyfuss's character.
Yeah.
Because it's in his character from start to finish, right? So at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't pay attention to his kids or his wife. He doesn't seem to care. He's worried about his fucking HO scale little railroad shit, which is super gay.
Yeah.
But he has this experience, and it changes him, but it almost seems like a snap change. There's no slow descent into madness. It's just it starts with the shaving cream. And then it just goes from there. And all he talks about is the shape of this thing that he can't figure out. Keep in mind, that was the first time I watched this movie was when I bought it for this episode. So obviously I'm 50 years too fucking late 49 years too late to be captured or wooed by how amazing it is. But he's such a terrible character. And drags his family out at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to a spot where he had the UFO sighting, which there's obviously nothing there.
Yeah.
And then he like loses his mind and builds the big Devil's Tower in his living room and rents a car and fucks off over to Wyoming. Picks up this chick that he had met earlier, ends up making out with her.
Who is also a horrible parent.
Yeah, who's also a terrible fucking parent. But it's like, the scene where they kiss pissed me off so much. Like, dude, you have a wife.
Yeah.
You fuckface.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he fucks off to space. Where it's
Not
like,
even thinking, like, there's no
tell my family I love them.
No,
nothing
he's
like
just
that.
like,
He's,
yeah, dude. What kids, dude?
I'll go with you.
Kids. Yeah.
It's like, no, these are like a seemingly benevolent species of aliens. You don't belong with them. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you think about another alien movie from Steven Spielberg is War of the Worlds. So in Close Encounters, you have Roy Neary, but in War of the Worlds, it's Ray Ferrier, a 3-letter name that starts with an R and ends with a Y. They're both terrible fucking fathers. They both make very poor decisions throughout the whole movie. They both have this, like, descent into madness, but you want to believe they're the hero. They're not. They're shitty people.
Yeah.
So I think War of the Worlds is actually like the antithesis of Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're benevolent aliens in this one, but they're evil, malevolent in this one.
Yeah.
They're basically a mirror image of the same movie, which is why I draw that parallel. But Close Encounters, like...
Well, War of the Worlds, too, was Steven Spielberg's adaptation of a story that was... came from, like, the 50s or something. It was
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles, yeah. So it was like he was the director making this movie. So yeah. Another thing that I think Jesse Michaels brings up in that episode is he's talking about E.T. when Steven Spielberg made E.T. Again, another benevolent species of aliens that like makes contact and befriends this kid and needs to get home. But in the movie, he talks about it like the scene where E.T. is walking around the kitchen and the mother just doesn't even notice it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, is that because she can't see it because her mind is closed, or is it really she's just that out of... she doesn't notice an alien walking around in her kitchen grabbing a fucking Coke out of the fridge.
Well, so that one, there's a direct parallel to Disclosure Day where in Disclosure Day the aliens kind of disguise themselves as animals, so they're more palatable. I think in E.T., from a character perspective, you're talking about a single mom. Her husband had just left her for another woman. She's raising 3 kids completely on her own, no help. So she's working all the time. She's probably tired, emotionally exhausted, heartbroken, all this. She's probably just zombie moding her way through her life. So she probably thinks it's the Drew Barrymore character running around.
Yeah.
So I can get that. I do love the aspect in Disclosure Day of them telepathically almost changing their perspective or their perception to the kids. So they're not frightening.
Yeah.
But there is kind of that strange parallel. I'm just like, I put it through my own lens of, I can understand why the mom did not see the small alien as an alien. Mm-hmm. She just thought it was her daughter.
Yeah. So another thing that Jesse Michaels talks about is the aspect of Spielberg talking about or bringing up the question of like, is it possible that aliens are really us from the future? And then he goes into this whole explanation of Back to the Future, where he describes the Emmett Brown character, Doc Brown, as being based on Thomas Townsend Brown, who was a scientist that was working on, and some people believe that he was able to create a time travel device. Emmett Brown in the movie Back to the Future is spelled with 2 T's at the end, so it's T.T. Brown. And Thomas Townsend Brown's nickname was Doc, so it's Doc Brown. So this character that's creating a time travel device is actually based on a character who was actually in real life supposedly made this device. So that's like Timothy Taylor, who we've talked about, who's like the ghost, the phantom that works for NASA. Supposedly worked for Thomas Townsend Brown, and he told Diana Pasulka that he works for an agency that's kind of like an agency that goes through times correcting shit, like the Time Adjustment Bureau.
Like the movie The Adjustment Bureau, which was produced by Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
What?
All these little breadcrumbs of like stuff that, and in the movie Back to the Future, he crashes the DeLorean into a farmhouse, and the kid comes out and thinks that he's an alien in a spaceship, and he's wearing that hazmat suit and shit. And then later on in the movie, he tries to convince his dad that he has to take his mom to the dance, and so he presents himself as an alien from another planet. And tells him he has to do these things, and kind of brainwashes him into thinking he has to do this thing that he's already done. But very interesting little, like, if he doesn't know all these things, how he's coming up with these facts that tie in so nicely with actual history is
there's so much connective tissue from everything he's got his hands in to the real mystery.
Yeah.
Like the Thomas Townsend Brown thing. Yes, we are related, by the way. Smart guy, last name Brown, doctor. Relation. Just thought I'd throw that out there. That is such a very cool connection. And it's so innocuous that, because at the time, like, when those movies came out in 1985, nobody's talking about that sort of thing. And if you did, you were a fucking kook. Nobody listened to you.
Well, even those dates have correlation too. It's like 1985 was the year that Thomas Townsend Brown died, and 1955 was the year that he came up with this hypothesis to make time travel possible. In real life.
Isn't it also a coincidence that Thomas Townsend Brown died in 1985 and I was born in 1985?
Reincarnation.
I'm not saying I am or I'm not. I'm just saying suspect. I'm going to admit to it in the same way Steven Spielberg admits to being a slow disclosure agent. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I only know what you know.
I know the same thing that you know.
Yeah, but saying that, like, I know the same thing that you know, doesn't say that it's not saying that I know more than you know, but I know the same thing that you know.
Yeah, I know. So at any level of information on the scale of where you're at, I can meet you there.
Yeah.
But I'm actually way up here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. God, that shit is so interesting. I'm going to divert for a little bit because there's a couple other movies that I wanted to touch on, and we're going to have to go back into the UAP alien thing. But so he produced Poltergeist, and I think Toby Kebbell was the director, the guy who directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So he alleged to, I think it was Bryce, that Spielberg did take the deal.
So yeah,
for disclosure.
He says that shortly after Jaws came out and Steven Spielberg was really catapulted into another level of Hollywood, he was approached by guys from the Navy intelligence and said, "We're going to make your career really stay relevant and you're going to be super successful, but we want you to do these certain things. And so this is supposedly the deal that was made with Spielberg, right?
Which, do you believe that's 100% fact?
I believe that, yes. With everything that either he's got some fucking crack people who were actually in some of these agencies working for him as like researchers or something to make his scripts correct, or that's what directors will do, is they'll like hire somebody that's like, they're making a movie about the CIA, they'll have an expert a consultant come in who they pay just to give them information on how certain things would work or what was more believable. And so either he's got some guy that was actually in all of these things, or it's hard for me to believe that all of these connections aren't known to Steven as he's making them, because they're put together so well and so like hidden that it takes years and years and researchers a long time to put all these things together to line it out correctly.
Yeah, it's too coincidental. Like, it's structured so well with all the connections. Like Emmett with 2 T's, Brown, Thomas Townsend Brown, Doc, 1985, 1955, or going back to all the connections in Disclosure Day, or the many connections from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's so well put together. It's this perfect mosaic. It's so perfect that it looks like it's made that way.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, this happens to be 36 Pearl Drive. You didn't just pull that out of thin air. So I'm 100% on board that he's actually an agent within that field.
Yeah. Now, that being said, so those two guys also talk about when they were making their series. It was kind of a series along the line of X-Files, kind of, called Dark Skies. It was in the late 90s that they were making this series on TV. They said that when they released their first episode that was dealing with the Majestic 12, they were approached by Naval Intelligence, a person from Naval Intelligence who gave them a proposition of like the same kind of thing, like, we can make you super successful, we want you to work for us or work alongside with us, we'll give you tidbits of information to put and release into the show for slow drip disclosure. They say that they didn't take the deal because they weren't sure of how everything would work, and if they took the deal, if Naval Intelligence was just going to come in and say what they could and couldn't do and what they could and couldn't put into their show that they wanted to make. And so they said no. And so the guy that was there talking to them about it said, well, let me give you this little slip of paper, and he took it and wrote a bunch of stuff down on it, and according to them it looked like hieroglyphics, but just symbols and shapes and numbers, almost like an equation. They said they didn't understand what the fuck it meant, and he's like, here, hang on to this, you're gonna know I was telling the truth in the future. You'll know.
It's like 15 years or something.
Yeah. And he said he looked at it and he said, well, what does it mean? And he's like, sound, light, and frequency. Mm-hmm. And that was all that was said. It was like the key to the universe, sound, light, and frequency. And so that was all that said. They didn't take the deal, and they're still kind of wondering about what the fuck it means. But does Steven know? Did he take the deal? Did he get information?
Well, you can take that one right back to Close Encounters. In the end, when the humans are trying to communicate with the alien spacecraft, they use those same 5 notes. And they use it through a light board, and they play it at different frequencies.
Yeah.
So that right there is like, you didn't just guess that, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You didn't just make that shit up. You're not that creative.
Yeah.
But it wraps perfectly into the sound, light, and frequency of that, the way they were communicating through what we perceive as music, but it's just tone, it's frequency.
Well, all of that is, everything in that also is just mathematics.
Yeah.
So.
And they even break it down with like the hand gestures so that deaf people could learn how to interpret music. So it's too perfect, right?
Yeah. So really, like, I watched this thing on TikTok the other day that was talking about like the question of like, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? And it's like, well, technically, sound is just a vibration that is perceived in the ear that registers in your brain as a sound. So does sound actually ever exist? Or is it just a vibration and it's just being interpreted as sound?
Yeah, but without something there to perceive it, does it exist?
Yeah.
And I get that. It's kind of like particles behave differently when they're viewed.
Right.
So that's a whole quantum entanglement superposition question that my brain is too small to answer.
Yeah. It's fun to think about, though. So, yeah, in the sound, light, and frequency aspect, it's like all of it really is just mathematics and the vibration of the energy of anything to create or possibly destroy anything.
Yeah, and that actually kind of makes me think of War of the Worlds, of that sound the tripods make.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's this like this tone that just invokes dread and fear. And I don't know how it was created, but it's perfect because you can hear that sound and you instantly get goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
So again, fucking nailed it.
I wonder if that is like, especially when it was played in the theaters, if it was a little bit of infrasound.
I remember seeing it in theaters, but keep in mind that was like 21 years ago that movie came out. There was something I was trying to put together and I didn't get around to finishing it, of timing of some of these movies, where some of Spielberg's movies kind of like have these strange time factors to them. Like War of the Worlds came out 4 years after 9/11, so it came out in like 2005, and I was trying to like put together this timeline of when some of these big alien movies come out, like the original War of the Worlds radio broadcast versus like World War II, and both of them are within 4 or 5 years. One that kind of got me, that I was putting together within Steven Spielberg's filmography, was Jurassic Park. So the movie is about cloning dinosaurs in modern times. That came out in 1994. 2 years later, scientists really cloned Dolly the sheep.
Mm.
And then suddenly, right after that, there's a ban on cloning. So,
Allegedly.
Fortuitous timing, it seems like.
Yeah. Then he makes AI.
And then a few years later, we're looking at AI programs, and people are terrified of AI.
So is he really just like really good at looking at trending topics that, you look at like breakthrough science, and then what is on the cusp of the wave of breakthrough science right now, and then create a story based on this thing that's emerging technology or whatever, and then it manifests itself as the technology progresses. So you're looking back, you're like, holy shit, this guy was predicting the future. Or it's like, okay, well, he was just looking at what is happening right now on the breakthrough of like science breakthroughs right now, and then creating a story, and then it just happens to like, how many times does he miss that mark?
I would agree with that, but I think he's nailed the mark too many times in a row.
Yeah.
Because you think about So he produced Poltergeist, right? And then in the 80s, there was this big trend of paranormal-based movies because you had a lot of, like, the Warrens cases were coming out and things like that. They were becoming mega popular in book sales. But Poltergeist came out first.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the Warrens were kind of doing their thing for 20 years prior to that, but in the 80s, there was, like, a big uproar for it. Again, Jurassic Park and cloning, or AI. That movie came out in, what, 2010? Something like that. AI really started taking off about 5 years later. Or Ready Player One, within this virtual, like, VR-based world. A few years later, what's popular? The Oculus. You know, I could believe it if it was like 1, 2, 3 of them, but one hit after another is just like...
Or is it really a manipulation of consciousness, of like putting it out there on such a huge scale that it's believed or it's being seen and thought about by so many people at the same time that it manifests into reality?
I've wondered about that one too. Like, are you using art to create the zeitgeist in a way? Very possible, because we've seen time and time again, one person just does one thing and the culture shapes around that.
Yeah.
Whether it's people going viral on the internet or if it's like a movie that changes the culture. Look at The Matrix, how that changed the entire landscape of filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Was that an informed thing? Was that something that they knew about, or did they just like have this one wild fucking idea and it was so amazing and it hit just at the right time? The odds are kind of in favor of it just being random, but look at the impact it had, you know?
I think that it was at a time where there was enough people that understood how computers worked and how like a computer simulation could work, but the idea of this reality being a simulation goes way back before that.
It does.
But being presented as like a computer program was familiar enough with people that could understand it to like present it to a major audience and blow people's minds of like this new concept, but it's an actual old idea.
And it hit just at the right time,
right
at the beginning of the information age.
Right.
So it's like with The Matrix, I kind of feel like that is the perfect nerve hit. Like, they had the right idea at the right time and it was executed in new and interesting ways.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Have they been able to replicate that success? Not at all. Because the subsequent sequels they're not that good.
Dude, the newest Matrix was dope. No, it was dumb.
The Matrix regurgitation.
Yeah.
That movie sucks so bad. It's like you watch it and you go,
horrible.
Whose idea was
Who
this?
greenlit this shit?
Who was this made for? Did you need money? Keanu Reeves doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I could say with confidence that it's like, yeah, he had his thumb on the pulse. Spielberg had his thumb on the pulse and was on the money, and he just like predicted the right trends, but one after the other. Granted, he's had some missteps, but I think, and I hate to say this, I think that's where he was just trying to come up with something original and not tied to anything else.
Yeah.
And that's where his movies like would flop.
Or he was in a lull where they weren't giving him any new information, so he was just like, okay, let's make Saving Private Ryan. No, that was a great movie.
That's a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
But it's there's something with those two World War II based movies that he did at that time. Well, he's done a few World War II based movies. There was Empire of the Sun, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. I want to say there's one more. I think
he produced Band of Brothers.
He did do Band of Brothers. So I think that's more of a love letter than anything. I don't think that's tied to any of the UAP stuff, but there is a World War II reference Ruh-roh. He's in trouble.
Potential spam. I like spam, but I don't want to talk to him.
I like it on sandwiches.
Yeah.
In the very opening shot of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's all these warplanes, American warplanes, that just turned up at random.
Yeah.
And that ties right back into the Foo Fighters of the World War II era. And then at the end of the movie, those pilots are returned.
Right.
Just as the planes are returned, and they're in turn returned in brand new condition with the same fuel, the same amount of ammunition, same manifestos. And the pilots that are brought back haven't aged a day.
So they go into a wormhole, or they're like collected.
Or just time just does not apply in that ship.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're in some way quantum, because time behaves different on a quantum realm. One of my other favorite references in Close Encounters was the reference to Project Serpo.
How so?
So the
Oh, yeah.
all the dudes in like the red suits,
Yeah.
and then they take Roy Neary and they put him in a suit, and he's just like
Yeah.
happy to go along. You mean to tell me I get to get away from my wife and kids? Hell yeah.
Now, in the movie, his kids were fucking super annoying.
Especially that oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids were annoying, and the wife was kind of a bitch. But he's a terrible dad,
Yeah.
so they're just all shitty people. But yeah, all the men in the red suits, they line up as though they're part of like an exchange program.
Yeah.
So that's like a direct reference to Project Serpo.
What planet was it they were going to in Project Serpo? Does it say?
Planet Serpo.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that story didn't gain traction until like the mid-90s. But it allegedly took place in the 60s.
And he's putting kind of a reference to it in a movie in the, 70?
Came out in 77. But yeah, filmed in 76. So,
Yeah.
seems a little too perfect.
Yeah.
There's another thing in that movie that I wanted to make reference to is when the calls are coming over the radio for the UFOs floating around.
Mm-hmm.
All these people are talking about, oh, it's the size of a barn, it's the size of a house, it's huge. And then it flies through this toll booth to go into another state, and magically they fit through a space a car should fit through.
Yeah.
The digital age wasn't there to like do that super easy, but it kind of alludes to me that the crafts themselves can change size and shape depending on what they need. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but just watching the movie and seeing like this craft is way bigger than Roy's truck, the one that's above him, but then it can fit through this toll booth that's roughly the size of his truck.
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah, they've talked about it on a bunch of different things, saying how there's people or researchers or scientists that believe that if these UFOs are real, they can manipulate time and space. Especially like on the outside, it looks smaller. On the inside, it's huge.
Mm.
So it's like they call it a tesseract, something like that, so that the outside space that it occupies in this three-dimensional world, on the inside of that is a fourth dimension that's bigger than what we can perceive on the outside as a three-dimensional space. So can they manipulate the size that it projects? Probably. Make it however big they want.
See, and that's where I'm like, he could have just as easily had the craft go above the toll booth and keep them the same size. So that was a weird thing to me. And another weird thing with that was when you see, because it's like a series of different crafts and there are different shapes and sizes, but they're always followed by these tiny balls of light.
Little red balls.
Yeah. That struck me as weird because recently I was looking into the Boogosphere. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
And the Bellosphere. It's almost identical. Found in another part of the world, all the same characteristics, all about the size of a basketball. Now, it just seems so weird to me because that's kind of the only place where these spheres show up in UFO lore, apart from some other videos. But are they like the scout ships? Are they, you know? It's
Well, even on there's an episode of Skinwalker Ranch where they talk about, or they're showing like the fence post that gets burned, and so they put a camera out there to, like a game camera or whatever, and so they're going through the frames of this camera, and all of a sudden it's like going through like multiple. I don't know if it's recording like a video or if it's, and they're just going frame by frame, but it's like they're going through each individual image, and then one image there's nothing there, and all of a sudden the next image there's a huge metal sphere, and then the next image it's gone. Similar thing though.
Isn't that crazy that he had that in the 70s?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. To me, at the end of the movie, where like they have that like stadium thing set up, and they're calling all the UAPs in, UFOs. We'll use the correct term for the time.
For the time.
And they have all these different shaped crafts come in, and it's like one is shaped almost like a bell, one's like a saucer, one is like a ball orb of light, all these different things that were being reported at the time or have been reported throughout the years of different shaped crafts. Some say they're shaped like saucers, some say they're shaped like bells, some say that they're just orbs of light, and then they all come and kind of fly around. In the movie, it's like you're watching like all these different things happening, and then it culminates to the end where the mothership comes over, and to me it was like almost like the sports models that were going out zooming around, but just like Bob Lazar said in the 80s that he witnessed like 9 different types of crafts at Area 51. So, and he was a whistleblower in the 80s, and this movie came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I do like that. That was like one of the first alien movies that showed the species themselves as kind of benevolent, versus most alien movies before that. You know, they're all like the B movies of the 50s and 60s, where, you know, they're kind of like The Day the Earth Stood Still. They're here to destroy us, shit like that, or War of the Worlds even. But these are just like happy-go-lucky little gray aliens dancing around and shit. So it kind of changed the paradigm of what people viewed as extraterrestrials. And then you kind of get to the late 80s into the 90s, and it's like, oh, we're back to aliens being evil again.
yeah.
And then you get War of the Worlds, the 2005 version that he makes, and that's like the worst one. And now we're kind of back into this realm with a lot of movies kind of going back to, you know, they're not evil. They have the technology to destroy us, and they don't.
Have you watched the newest War of the Worlds?
The one with Ice Cube?
Yeah.
I got like 15 minutes into that, and I was like, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
It was like 4 people got together and just recorded shit on their cell phones. Like, okay, this scene, what is this scene? Oh my gosh, they're right behind me!
They're like...
Horrible. Yeah, I did this. I think I watched like maybe 20 minutes of it, and then was like, is he really just going to sit at his computer this whole fucking movie?
Sure does.
Yeah. I fast forwarded it like just to see if it was going to change into like an actual movie. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I watched a review of it after I shut it off, just because I was curious. It literally is him just at a computer doing Ice Cube face the whole time. Oh God, this movie sucks.
Yeah. I was like, was this recorded during COVID where nobody could leave and just like sit at home and make a movie with their cell phone?
Somebody was probably like, we'll give you $10 million to make a War of the Worlds sequel. Okay, we got to spend $5 million of that on Ice Cube just to get a little bit of star power, and then we'll make the rest of the movie for like $50 and we'll pocket the rest.
Yeah. I had $3 million to Ava Longoria.
Oh, that's right, she was in that movie.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, what a piece of shit. It's like somebody made that on a dare.
Yeah.
So, other Steven Spielberg movies that are tied to the UFO lore. Men in Black.
Men in Black was it made by Amblin?
Produced by Amblin, directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. And that the crossover with the Dark Skies guys is they had Men in Black written into their script, and then Sony calls them and is like, "Hey, you can't put Men in Black in your script," which the Sony Paramount connection there, like they were kind of like the same company, so you could do that. If it was like Sony calling Warner Brothers saying, "Hey, you can't put Men in Black in your script," Warner Brothers would be like, "Fuck you, buddy. You don't own the IP to Men in Black."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I found that really entertaining.
They said they were threatening to sue them if they didn't take all these different things out, and so they had to go back and reshoot a bunch of stuff and put all the guys that were supposed to be Men in Black in different colored suits.
Called them cloakers.
Yeah, and changed the name of what they were. But interesting. Why was it? Yeah, it's the same production company, pretty much. Why would it be an issue?
You know what I think? I think it's similar to the Disney Frozen thing, where I think we've talked about it, where you Google Disney Frozen and it comes up with the movie Frozen instead of the
Walt Disney's head being frozen.
Yeah. So now if you Google Men in Black, you're not going to come up with stories of Men in Black. You're going to come up with the film series Men in Black.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect diversionary campaign.
Yeah. I did like that movie, though. It was fun. But again, it presents... I guess in that movie, it presents the scenario of all these different races of aliens. Some are good, some are bad, or some are more malevolent than others. And some just don't really fucking care, or whatever. So again, is that like presenting this idea of it's not one race of aliens that's visiting us, it's a multitude of varying species.
And is there a policing agency for these multitude of species? Only in the movie they portray them as like benevolent, we're here to protect the planet and the people, and by the way, they're living amongst you. It seems like the perfect, like in the vein of all this Spielberg soft disclosure shit of saying those things.
Yeah.
Aliens live here, the Men in Black are the police agency that keeps them in line.
Well, also presenting them as like good guys and they're here to help. So when you see the Men in Black, no you didn't.
No you didn't.
And that's okay because they're good guys.
Yeah. Good guys dressed in black, remember that?
Yeah.
In case you ever come face to face and make contact. I can't remember the rest.
Me neither. Also, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, with the
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Terrible choice to play Indiana's son. There's a nod to Indiana Jones in Disclosure Day too.
Is there?
The hotel they stay at is the Indiana Motel.
Oh. Huh.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, I was trying to listen. The second time I watched through the movie, I was trying to listen for the tones from Close Encounters. I didn't catch them. There was a few points in the score that it sounds similar to when they're in Close Encounters, when they're in the stadium and they're doing all the weird sound shit that sounds very similar to it. I thought that might be an interesting reference too that I was looking for, but
I actually need to watch it again because there's this scene in a train car where Emily Blunt's character is having her little meltdown, but she's like leaned up against these crates that have pianos without the tops, and she's kind of gripping the strings. I kind of wondered if there was a correlation there.
yeah.
I'd have to check it again. Would it shock you though if like the strings that she's gripping are actually the strings to play those 5 tones? I just came up with that on the spot.
Yeah, I like that. Looks like we have some more research to do.
I think when this episode's done, there's still much more to talk about.
Yeah, I really think that Disclosure Day as the movie, there's probably a lot of shit that a lot of people are missing still, and it's going to have to be broke down further. I know Jesse did a fucking phenomenal job on his episode of like tying all these things together that are so obvious once it's explained that like they're all tight connected. Whether that's just a stroke of genius by Spielberg or if it has to be, in my mind it's connected.
I mean, a stroke of genius, 2 or 3 of those little Easter eggs, okay, but there's so many that it's like it's not as cut and dry as like, oh, I just took this piece of lore and injected it. And when they're so subtle and subdued, like, excuse me, even if the piano string theory was correct, what average person would have picked up on that?
Yeah.
Like, because we're so injected into this topic, in this conversation, that we're looking for things like that. Or the 36 Pearl, you know, there's too much of it for it to be coincidence or clever writing in my book.
Yeah.
We're not that smart as people.
As a whole, especially. So, yeah, I mean, for one person to just have all the, like, say you're writing the movie, right? And then you're like, okay, what can I put in this movie just to give it some Easter eggs? You're going to tie a few things like he did in Close Encounters, where at the end of the movie when they're communicating with the aliens ship and it starts doing the Jaws theme. It's like, dun-dun, dun-dun. That's like, okay, of course that's a nod to Jaws, a movie that he just made and became super famous for. So of course he's going to try to tie little Easter eggs like that, but to put in so many little things that ties it together with everything else in the spectrum of UFOs would be, you'd have to be a super genius to do those things, I think.
It'd be astronomical to get all of that right.
Yeah.
I think even Jaws might be part of it too. You think about as much has come out about USOs over the past 10 years, and thinking back, Spielberg's first movie was an alien movie, right? So if I had to guess, I would say they got him after that, but before Jaws. Because you watch Jaws and it makes you afraid to be in the water. I think that's even the tagline.
Don't go in the water.
Don't go in the water, or be afraid to go in the water, whatever it is. So it's like, you don't want to go in the water, there's sharks. But really it's, you don't want to go in the water, there's
aliens.
USOs. Yeah. That's why I think it goes all the way back to the beginning, where someone in the government watched his first movie that was an alien movie, went, this kid's got talent, we can help prop him up and have him do our bidding at the same time. Let's start with something really subdued like USOs.
Yeah.
You know, perfect. Shape it around a shark, and you won't be able to see it that often until like the finale. So it just, the math checks out.
Yes, especially all this information coming out that most of the people who are in charge of these UFO groups or intelligence agencies are naval intelligence. I think that's a lot of the thing that a lot of people miss is like, why would they be naval intelligence? Why not like Air Force?
Yeah, because
if it's all UFOs.
It seems to me that there are 4 big agencies involved in the UFO UAP topic. So you have ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. You have OSI, which is Air Force. The Men in Black, Dark Black Group, whatever they are. and then the CIA. I think all four of them play a factor, but they're similar in the same way that we have different branches of the military. Where like the Army is boots on the ground, so it's more CIA. The Navy is the Navy, they're in charge of the water. Air Force does the air, and then the Men in Black is kind of similar to the Marines in a way. They're more versatile, but they're the go in and
specialists.
Kill.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strange metaphor, but that's kind of the way I see it. And then plus you get the compartmentalization of ONI gets this piece and OSI gets this, the Men in Black gets this, and the CIA gets this. Which is also why the CIA is so heavily invested in dark projects and projects like remote viewing and stuff like that, because they only get part of the puzzle, but they want all the puzzle. So
Yeah.
let's start employing different tactics to try to get the whole picture.
To open it up, yeah. No, yeah, I think that there's so much that is wrapped up in Spielberg's body of work that it's hard for me to deny that he's getting some kind of information. How much he actually knows about it, or he's just given these tidbits of information to build upon. I don't know. Like, if I was in charge of an agency and I was wanting him to disclose certain aspects of something, I wouldn't give him the whole story. I would give him like little pieces of like stuff that's interesting enough to build a story on, but not like actual the full story, the full all the information. So yeah, I think that even if he is, which I think that he probably is, being fed some information, how much of that he's getting is true, and how much of it is like a deception tactic of whoever's manipulating this whole thing. Or is it like these government agencies who are trying to manipulate the consciousness to manifest into a certain thing? Maybe that's also something.
That's something I tend to think very deeply on, because the way one film can change the entirety of pop culture, again with The Matrix.
Yeah.
Does that film coming out, is it a predilection of where we're going, or is it literally steering the course of people's thought process?
Right.
And that's such a deep mind-bending concept that I still don't have an opinion on. I gotta take it into a slightly darker place for just a second here. So there's been some, I don't want to say allegations or rumors, but there's been some things that point to Steven Spielberg being a kid diddler. Have you come across any of this?
Not specifically, but like looking at ties he has with certain actors, it looks, I mean, if he's hanging out with these people all the time, like Tom Hanks has been accused, and he's in how many movies with Spielberg?
A fair amount. So there's a lot of things that are very suspect surrounding him, and ties to things of that nature, right? So it would make perfect sense that he's being protected from up on high, right?
Maybe that's why I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, because it's easy to suppress. Like, hey, that's our golden goose, man. He's slow dripping disclosure like we told him to. We're going to stop a couple of child actors from coming forward. However you do it. Manipulation, fear tactics, cash payouts, murder. I mean, Heather O'Rourke from Poltergeist. Remember the story with her. But that also kind of draws another parallel to another character, which is Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. And you've seen how many future predictions they've gotten crazily right on, right?
Yeah.
Or, again, is it just like they make a prediction and pop culture steers in that direction. But who was Matt Groening tied with? Epstein.
Really?
Yeah. So one of his victims claimed that she was assaulted by him. In fact, she was on the plane with him on the way to the island and was forced to like give him a foot massage and shit. So that's a whole different can of worms. But we've also seen that Epstein himself is tied into the UAP phenomena.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like draws this weird dark parallel of kid diddling and cannibalism and all that with UAPs.
Maybe they're just trafficking kids to feed the aliens.
I mean,
with loosh and adrenochrome.
Well, do you remember that one story from that guy? His name is escaping me, but he was a Marine Raider. He was on a mission somewhere in Asia.
Was he on Russ Coulthard?
I think he was. Where I heard him was Sean Ryan. But he was on a mission, climbed up to the top of this hill and saw this big, what he perceived as alien spacecraft.
Yeah.
And they were loading it with drugs and human trafficking, and dudes in black came out of nowhere and disarmed him.
Yeah.
So there are direct ties together with all these evil empires and UAP phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was kind of a dark place to take it, but it's
I think
you got to look at all the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, like we keep on saying, it seems like all these things are so tied together in so many different aspects that it has to be part of the same thing. Like if you feel an elephant's trunk and you feel the elephant's tail and you're only looking at it from one end or the other, you don't know what the fuck it is until you get the whole picture and you go, oh, it's an elephant.
Yeah.
Until we get the whole picture of everything all together, we don't know what we're looking at yet. So you can't say that these things aren't connected until you see what's in between. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing here.
And sometimes you got to look at the elephant's asshole.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
Unfortunately.
And that's looking at the kid diddlers tied in with UAPs.
Yeah.
So it's dark and it's hard to think about. But yeah, it's part of the puzzle. I tell you one part of the puzzle, going back to the lighter part of Spielberg, is when they have like the town in Wyoming sealed off and they're moving all these crates around. You remember that scene? Mm-hmm. The very first crate that gets picked up and the guy walks past it, what does it say on the side?
Lockheed.
Like, that's just playing in your face.
Yeah.
To me, that was just like, you want this carrot?
Yeah.
This carrot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Lockheed and some of the other crates have like SWS or something on it.
Yeah.
Which is another company that deals with like special operations type shit.
Yeah, I couldn't catch all the names, but the fact that they like highlighted that center frame from left to right all the way through, Lockheed on the side, like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is before a lot of this stuff was out in the public domain of these are the companies that are dealing with these supposed crashes and materials from off planet, but he has this information and he's putting it into a movie in the 70s. That's like way ahead of the time of that's actually a known thing.
Yeah.
So where is he getting the information from?
Yeah, it's easy for us to look at it as like, well, we've been into this topic for 10 years or whatever it is. So it seems like the information came out when we were learning it, even though that's not accurate. But 1977 is way before a lot of this shit came out.
Yeah. And
even the things that did come out in those times, everybody just thought those were kooks. Nobody took it seriously.
Yeah.
So it's just so perfect.
A little too... it's too much to be coincidental.
I agree. Even looking at the Indiana Jones movies, I mean, we've talked about the Ark of the Covenant, so Raiders of the Lost Ark, or if you look at Temple of Doom, which is actually a prequel to Raiders, and they have the 3 stones. Like, what are these 3 stones? Are they alien artifacts similar to what's in Disclosure Day? Are they something else that's kind of ethereal, maybe a mineral from another planet or from space itself?
Well, even in the movie, they're like magic stones.
Yeah, and they allow them to grow crops and do other shit that they talk about but never show.
Yeah.
Or you look at the Holy Grail, and the wild theories about Jesus being an alien.
Yeah. Or even ties to the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
that was way before Dan Brown even let everybody know what was going on.
Yeah, that's a Brown that's no relation, by the way. Thomas Townsend, yes. Dan Brown, no. In name only. But, like you mentioned earlier, the crystal skull, like the Hedge's skull, this huge piece of quartz cut against grain, no tool marks.
Yeah.
Still unexplainable to this day.
Yeah. That's an elongated skull, and they're practicing skull elongation in those areas in the Amazon and South America for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the long time ago.
But what led them to do that?
Yeah.
They had to have had some kind of source to give them the impetus to start putting rubber bands on their fucking head.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you do it?
Modifying their teeth and their ears, and they're poking holes in their faces.
Mm-hmm. There's some impetus for that. You didn't just come up with it.
Yeah. They, Lil Wayne got a hold of a time machine and went back in time.
That's a short film right there.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all too perfect.
It is too perfect, and either it's this whole manifestation thing where somebody's guiding our consciousness into a certain direction, or it's all connected and it's being let out. And I tend to believe that one more.
I think it is being let out, and I do want to come around and do another disclosure episode because of everything that's been happening this year has been pretty monumental, and I think people just aren't paying attention. So I do want to come back to that, but I was thinking the other day about why would we have this slow disclosure? Like, what would be the purpose? Especially if you tie it into the dark stuff, because if that comes out, then this has to come out too. And I think the overlords or whomever is finally smart enough to know that everybody is walking around with a computer in their pocket that also has a camera, and you can take videos and you can take picture and you can put this information out instantly to reach thousands or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people instantly. It's going to get too difficult to suppress the truth going forward.
Yeah.
But we're also, as a society, I don't think we're fully capable of what real disclosure looks like.
So what do you do in that scenario? You create AI that can image model anything you want so that people won't believe what they're seeing now.
Exactly. So that's 50-50 on it. So they are expelling actual real slow disclosure, but you're muddying all the waters with AI, and this is what they've done for forever. Because you think about the earlier days of YouTube, so YouTube came out in like 2004, you would probably see tons and tons of UFO videos. How difficult would it be for a powerful government agency to scrub those videos right off of YouTube?
I don't think it'd be hard back then.
Not difficult at all. How many do you think they just let slip by? Because if you have 9 fake ones and 1 real one, you're going to question all of them.
Yeah.
So it's probably the exact same thing where there's a lot of AI generated content or fakery or people out there who throw a plate in the air and take a picture of it. But then there's some real ones out there.
Yeah.
Similar to the paranormal videos we watch all the time. You watch Nukes, and it's like he could play 10 clips, and 9 of them you're going to go, nah. But one of them you go, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what it is. You're putting enough truth in there, but casting enough doubt that you're going to doubt it's the truth. It's perfect subversion.
Yeah. I think it's weird that people are waiting for the government to tell them that it's real to actually believe that it is a possibility.
I agree. You're psyoping yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we tend to picture disclosure as like a craft lands on the White House lawn and comes out and the president shakes its hand. Like, that's not going to happen. In fact, the disclosure that we seek has to really come from our own consciousness to understand, even mathematically, that there are billions of galaxies out there, and even if they are similar to ours with 9 planets but only one that we know of that can sustain life, you still multiplied the possibility by billions that there is other terrestrial life out there.
Yeah.
You have to be able to just be pragmatic about it.
Yeah. Yeah, aliens are real. Spielberg knows about it.
They're real. They're some of the most fantastic people you've ever met. Tremendous. Tremendous little guys. So in Disclosure Day, there's some anecdotes that we've heard over the years of the Nixon-Jackie Gleason thing, Kecksburg, Roswell. Those are kind of the big prominent ones. Do you believe that any of what they put in there is real, but they just kind of remanufactured the footage?
I doubt it. I think that maybe I think they probably have videos like that, and they may have told, or Spielberg had gotten information that videos actually exist like that, and so he just recreated them for the movie. But like, I don't think that they're using actual film of any sort like in those clips, especially when it comes to the aliens, because they look so hella fake.
So me and Deacon went to watch it, and there's one of the Disclosure clips where this like group of aliens is walking towards a tent, and the way they walk,
It's like Mars Attacks.
we both fucking laughed out loud. It was so ridiculous. No, I wondered that because of the thing we were just talking about with like the AI versus disclosure, where especially in the Nixon Gleason case, I would think it would be absolutely perfect if Spielberg was shown the original video of these things happening, did an actual shot-for-shot remake, perfect down to the angle, the outfits, the whole 9 yards. And he does a full remake of it, puts it in the movie. So if that footage ever actually does come out, they'll go, no, it's fake. Look, it's a copy of what you saw on Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
But it could be the real footage of Nixon and Gleason.
Yeah. The story of that story, though, is a little bit different than it depicts in the movie. Like, shows them meeting at the airport, and there's all these people around, and then they go to this facility. And then the angle changes so many times, but it's supposed to be like a CCTV camera, but it changes just to the right like angle where you would put a camera to film a movie. But it's like supposed to be CCTV, but the angle is just like, so it's like showing them like meeting and shaking hands right in the center of the frame, and then like cutting to like them walking into the facility, and then cuts to the room where they slide the bodies out, and then it cuts to another angle from over here that's looking at them opening it up, and then it cuts to overhead. Like, it's like you have that many cameras in there filming this thing. But in the story, Jackie Gleason says that Nixon came to his house by himself, and there was nobody with him, and they drove together, just those two, down to the Air Force Base in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then they go and see these alien bodies. So the story is a little bit different than what it depicts in the movie, but could he have seen footage of them arriving and similar to that? Possibly. But it just changed, like the angle changes so perfectly to like make a movie that it's just, I don't know. I would think that it's, if he did see a video, it's probably nothing like that.
Yeah. But either way, that's such an odd anecdotal story to throw into the movie. Of all the different UFO, UAP happenings since 1947 that there's probably proof of, it's strange to pick that one.
I don't think so. I think that Joe Rogan has talked about it a few different times that I can recall hearing him on his podcast, that so many people know that story that it was, you put that in as almost like an Easter egg, like, so people are like, oh yeah, I know about this story. And so it's like something that you can put in there as evidence that people have heard about and can recall, like, just like that's why Kecksburg and Roswell are in there, because people know about their huge cases that are questioned by millions and millions of people, especially in America. Like, why didn't they put like Rendlesham in there, or like Virginia, Brazil? Like, it's an American audience, and so they're putting the ones that are most relevant in the pop culture of America, so that people can recognize that as like, oh, okay, yeah, I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I do understand it from that aspect. The problem I have with it is because it's so third hand of a story. Because the story was regaled by Jackie Gleason's ex-wife.
Yeah.
Who heard it from Jackie Gleason. So it's basically a third hand tale at this point.
And
so,
it's after they got divorced.
And it's after they got divorced. So it's, the well may have dried up. So it's like, well, I got to talk about Jackie Gleason some more. Oh, remember that one time he was drunk talking about aliens? I could totally tell a story. So it does seem weird, especially when you mention like Rendlesham or Virginia or even Kecksburg, which is totally different than the story of Kecksburg. Mm-hmm. You could throw in a lot more about Roswell or any number of the nuclear bases that UFOs have flown over and shut down, U.S.-owned nuclear bases.
All cases that are like huge cases that if you are into UFOs and like stuff that we talk about, like we are aware of these things, but like the base population of viewers that are going to go see this movie might not be as well versed as, so like showing them images from like Virginia or like Rendlesham, they might not, it's just going to not connect to anything.
Yeah.
So, you have to put it through a lens that people are going to recognize what you're talking about and see that as the evidence that they're trying to portray it as in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it still seems kind of like an odd choice to me.
Yeah.
Like, I do get it on a logical standpoint, but maybe it's just because I'm too close to the subject that I think that there was so many other ways to go about it.
Yeah.
But it also makes me go, what are they actually trying to say here? Are they trying to say this story happened? Or is it just perfectly anecdotal enough that you'll go looking for that and you won't find any real evidence of it? Because again, it's a third-hand tale with suspect, kind of lines to stay inside. Again, with his ex-wife after they were divorced.
Yeah.
After he was dead, telling the story.
And also you're going to find enough information on it that it seems real.
Yeah.
If you look into it, it seems real. Not saying that it's not, but like if you like are seeing that for the first time in this movie and then you go looking for it online, you're going to see all these things like Joe Rogan talking about it, and it's like, okay, well, it has to be real. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg's telling the truth in this movie.
Yeah. But then they go, there's no proof of that.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect confluence of fakery with the truth.
Again, is that a genius stroke, or is it just like a choice that was made.
Yeah, because I don't know Steven Spielberg personally, but I don't think he's a regular listener of the Joe Rogan podcast. So
yeah, maybe.
Possibly.
It seems like he's super into UFOs.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's weird about it though, because I don't know. I don't know how to like adequately describe my take on it, but it seems like he's very curious, but also super dismissive.
Yeah.
And I think that somewhere along there is the actual barrier of truth, and he's super biased Betty and Barney Hill, which I don't put a lot of credence into, but then is dismissive of a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. Maybe it's just because I disagree with
Well,
him.
even that connection with like him being a comedian, Jackie Gleason was a comedian. Jackie Gleason was super into UFOs, built a house that was shaped like a UFO and called it the Mothership.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same as what Joe Rogan calls his comedy club, is the Mothership.
I'd never put that together.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Even that one set he had for his podcast there for a little while with like the red lights.
Looked like inside of a UFO.
Yeah, kind of was what you would think the inside of a UFO looks like.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Maybe Joe Rogan knows some shit.
That's what Jesse Michaels said. Maybe Trump has done the same thing with him that Nixon did with Gleason.
Wouldn't that be fucking bananas, dude? Have you seen that video of Joe Rogan is in the Oval Office and he's like clearly smells something foul? That shit makes me laugh every time. He's just...
It's so funny too to watch that video because like you see Joe Rogan in his podcast, he's sitting down usually with like wearing a t-shirt or whatever, and then you see him in the Oval Office and he's wearing like a shirt and tie, and he's like standing there next to everybody else, and he looks like super short.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looks square as fuck because he's built
fucking jacked.
Yeah, but I think he's only like 5'6" or something like that. Maybe, I don't know, he could be taller. Everybody else there is just way taller than he is. It just almost looks like a cartoonage drawing of. It's funny. I don't know. Makes me laugh.
It is pretty funny. That's an interesting concept. I never really thought about Trump reading in Joe Rogan on those things.
Maybe Joe, you'll have to let us know what you know.
Hit me up, dude.
He always says he says he goes back and forth in believing and not believing, but he wants to believe. Maybe he's part of the...
That sounds like exactly what Spielberg says.
Yeah. I think we solved that one.
I think so. So, begs the question. If you were read in on it, would you tell anybody?
Yeah. Don't read me into it because I'm going to fucking tell everybody.
No, read us into it because we're the perfect people to do it.
True.
Because as much as we talk about it and postulate and speculate and hypothesize about everything, we're just crackpots. Nobody's going to fucking believe us anyway. Let's get this done.
Yeah, I think we said that in an episode way before, like talking about disclosures, like feed it into all these conspiracy theory podcasts and let them put it out. Even if they're talking 100% facts, nobody's going to believe them. But it's out there.
Yeah. Nobody's even listening. 100 episodes and we just
released
4,000.
disclosure to 12 people.
And even those 12 people, only one of them's like, yeah, it makes sense. And the other ones are like, fucking assholes. I bet these guys are Nazis.
Fucking misogynist Nazis.
That can't be because the Thule party was accepting of women.
True. Yeah, we just need to get... All we're looking for is a little bit of loosh, baby.
A little bit of loosh. And some Tootsie. So yeah, I feel like it's solved. Spielberg is a disclosure agent.
Yeah. I there's too many ties that don't have loose ends here that you can't deny it. For me, anyways.
Yeah.
You can deny it all you want. I'm not going to, though.
We're going to have to revisit this because there is other things, there's other dots that I've been connecting, and then there's some other dots that other people have connected that we haven't touched on. But I feel like this merits another episode.
Yeah.
But just on the Spielberg connection. And we got to do another disclosure episode because the disclosure packets we've been getting every week.
Yeah.
Have you been keeping an eye on those?
Just what's coming across on like social media stuff.
Yeah, when I've had free time, I've been kind of looking into it, like going on to the Gov websites and trying to look at the files, and there's so much redacted shit. But then they show you these clips of different UAPs with zero context, zero background information.
Yeah.
And you just watch it and you still go, man, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, there's been some that people put out like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and it's like, this is a UAP, and it's like, dude, that is clearly a buoy floating in the fucking ocean. Just filmed in like night vision so you can't tell that it's water.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that it's an unidentified object. Yeah, they just haven't identified it, but they know what it is.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's an alien spacecraft.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah. It's a fucking big ass propane tank floating in the water.
It's a Mickey Mouse balloon
It's
just
bobbing
floating through.
So it looks like it's disappearing. It like goes down and then reappears. So many things.
Yeah. It's too much. Anyway, we're gonna have to part 2 this at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I think with a little bit of time, as people start to watch and dissect this movie, it's going to come out with more and more Easter eggs that we have missed and spots to tie other things into. Like, I think we're going to have to go back through the catalog of movies and watch each one and try to tie in.
Yeah, that's something that we covered a lot of like surface level stuff, but I think that there's so much connective tissue that we need to actually delve into and maybe even put it through AI to help like weave the web. But there's so much more that we've got to cover, and a lot of this was like anecdotal and stuff that maybe people have heard before. But it was things that I felt like we needed to talk about because, like, let's get the veneer out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's get the crates that say Lockheed out of the way, or the frequency, light, and sound. Stuff like that. You know, I want to do that this time, but next time, let's get our theories going. Let's talk about the piano strings. Let's talk about 36 Pearl Way. You know, shit like that. I think it's going to be really cool. So with that, let's call it solved.
Until next time.
Doctor.
Doctor.
Later, Tater.
Bye.